Hello everybody, today I wanted to make a really quick video, keep it short and sweet, in regards to Marvel Rivals, all that Season 4 news and whatnot. There's a lot of videos talking about Angela, the new team-ups, the balancing, early play sessions, and whatnot. However, there's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and I don't necessarily blame them because in terms of the content creator space for the game, it's usually PC only, or more so that they are playing on PC, so they don't really care what's on console. And this specific issue that I want to talk about is it pertains to console players only. And this issue is the fact that NetEase in the year 2025 made a PS4 version of Marvel Rivals. And you could say, hey, what's wrong with the PS4 version of Marvel Rivals? The more players, the better. And you're not wrong, yes, the more the merrier. However, when the merrier of these more are playing at 30 frames per second and they are queued up with you, that's a problem. So NetEase released the specifications of the game and how it's going to run on these different versions of PS4. The base vanilla version of PS4, be it the Slim, which is arguably the most owned even today when it comes to PlayStation's player base for that console, that version is going to run at 1080p 30 frames per second. 30 frames per second. They would literally be playing the game at half the speed and half the response time you do. Because on PS5 and Series X, you can play it at 60, right? Solid 60. And if you have I think a Pro or an X and you have the corresponding monitor or TV, you can play at 120 Hertz. So you are going to get players that are playing 30 frames per second in your matches, right? Your ranked matches. And don't underestimate frame rate. There's a reason players on PC will turn down their visual settings to get the most frames as possible. There's a reason for that. Us on console, we're kind of stuck at 60. If you have a monitor, like I said, or a corresponding TV, you could do 120 Hertz. And I don't want to generalize here, right? I don't want to point fingers and generalize. But also, the player base who still just have a PS4, and I'm not talking about for financial reasons, because I know a lot of people, struggle out there. So I'm excluding the people that didn't upgrade for financial reasons, right? And still can't upgrade for financial reasons. I'm talking about the people that willingly kept a PS4 to simply continue playing their Call of Duty games that keep coming out for some reason on PS4, and their 2K and their sports games or whatever. Those games are being made on purpose for PS4 to this day because a large majority of those game sales come from that last generation. So now that you have those people joining Marvel Rivals, right? You have these people that just play these two games almost religiously on their systems. Get ready for a world of hurt when they download Marvel Rivals on PS4, because the mentality of players like that are not fit for a team game. So they're going to play like any other shooter. They're going to play like any other COD. They'll insta-lock DPS. They will never go support or tank, and they're just going to make your experience worse. So all this video is just a warning to everybody out there, to all the console-only players at the moment currently playing on current gen. Don't be surprised when you see a sudden surge of, how do I put this kindly, more detrimental teammates than what you already get. But I don't know. I think it'll do good for the game monetarily, but man, I think we're gonna take a bullet for that one. Another thing I wanted to touch on was the technical aspects of how they plan to keep updating the game while also keeping PS4 alive. And I know games like Overwatch 2 have a PS4 version. There's a lot of games that still have a PS4 version and they're doing just fine. But I don't know, that's because those games natively came out on PlayStation 4. Now, Overwatch 2 had a PS5 version, but the bones of that game are that PS4 generation. Same goes with Call of Duty ever since the 2019 reboot, I think it was, which then implemented Warzone, Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege. There's a whole lot of them that started on PS4 and just kind of carried over to PS5. Marvel Rivals is a different case, where they start on PS5 and they regress to PS4. And I don't know, I just feel that's interesting and a bit bizarre, but only time will tell how things go. But you know what? Actually, never mind. One thing that those are the games that I listed, Warzone, Apex, Overwatch, and Rainbow Six, they all run at 60 FPS on base PS4. That is the advantage it gets from originally being a PS4 game. Marvel Rivals on base PS4 is gonna run at 30 frames per second because it's natively not a PS4 game. So there really isn't anything else like that. The closest thing I could think of are, let's say, Nintendo Switch, right? Nintendo Switch got like a heck ton of ports from like other kinds of games. Doom, The Witcher 3, Apex is even on Switch. Now, I'm talking about Switch 1. Those games all got sort of diluted to be 30 frames per second on that console. And in regards to competitive only games, yeah, you got like Apex. I'm sure there's like a billion other competitive games, multiplayer games that are like have a Switch port. But the thing is, I think the consensus is that the Switch versions are not taken seriously. Like Overwatch has a Switch port, right? It runs at 30 frames per second. And I actually am not so sure because I never run into them. I swear to God, I never run into them. Are Switch players able to cross match with like PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S? Because every time I look at this like social profiles of players and it tells you like what platform they're on, if you are on that same native platform. Like for example, if you're on PlayStation, you could probably see other players that are on PlayStation 2, right? And then Xbox and vice versa. However, I don't think there's an indicator to see if you can tell if another player's on Switch. Now to clear something up, when you read that like Overwatch 2 is crossplay, there's a difference between crossplay and a queue pool. So if you look up online, like is Overwatch 2 on Nintendo Switch crossplay with, Xbox and PlayStation, you'll see that it says yes, that it's crossplay with those consoles and even PC. But that just means that like if you have a friend that is on that platform, you can directly invite them. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like random queue pools. I don't know if Nintendo Switch is on that queue pool with like the other home consoles, much less like how PC isn't on that console pool. But if you want, you could like invite your PC friend to play with you on console in a group. It's a little confusing, but that's the way it's worded, right? But I don't know if you would get a Switch player by default if you just queue up for, like a ranked match or something. Anyways, I'm digressing, but in this situation, PS4 players are the Switch players, but in Marvel Rivals instead of like Overwatch 2. So again, this wasn't supposed to be a long video. This is super short, so I hope you guys don't mind the lack of editing here. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the console experience is going to get significantly worse than it kind of is in a way? Or do you think it's just all a nothing burger and I'm just, kind of yapping for no reason? But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Marvel Rivals coming to PS4 is a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Is it a nothing burger? Do you guys just not care? But if you guys could, like and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. I'm at 10 subscribers, which is pretty, it's a good start. I like it. I'm having fun again with these videos, so I'd like to do more. I hope you guys really stick around. I do plan on doing more types of content just to see, where I could go as a creator and where the channel could go. But at the moment, it's just these ramblings or my thoughts here and there, or, here and there I'll do analysis videos. And this is for both Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. So if you guys, want to stick around, please, by all means, appreciate it very much. And I'll see you guys in the next one.